Hello everyone. MusiMath, developing creative thinking of patterns via music and math. I am pleased to present to you a multidisciplinary study that combines music and mathematics and examines the creative thinking of elementary school students in Israel. My name is Libby Azariahu, and my research colleagues are Orit Broza, Shai Cohen, Sarah Hershkovitz, and Esther Adi Yafe. Our research questions were: what is the impact of multidisciplinary learning combining music and math when the subject taught is patterns on students' creative achievements and creative thinking? The study participants were 84 third graders from one elementary school. We divided them to two groups, a control group and experimental group. The control group included 24 students from one class which learned 6 math lessons and 6 music lessons in an ordinary way, according to the standard curriculum of the Ministry of Education. The experimental group included 60 students from 3 classes which learned 6 math lessons and 6 music lessons as well. But in these classes, teachers made an explicit connection between the domains and encouraged the students to think in a creative way. Here is the research procedure. First, the students were tested in pre-tests of music and math. Then they learned the subject of patterns in both domains, repeating and growing patterns, sequences, and symmetry. Finally, the students were tested in post-tests of music and math. In the research group, the teachers encouraged the students to invent a wide variety of patterns or melodies and to create an enriching class discussion on original patterns. In order to collect the data, we developed a new software. The computerized test included questions with one correct answer and questions that encourage creative thinking and have more than one correct answer. The creative questions were analyzed by 3 parameters: fluency, flexibility, and originality. Fluency is the number of correct answers, flexibility is the difference between the correct answers, and originality is a unique answer that a limited number of students have thought of. Let's see a short movie about the computerized tests.
In order to collect the data, we developed the software computerized mathematical and musical test that allowed the students to perform musical and mathematical tasks which included questions with one correct answer and questions that enabled original and varied answers, thus encouraging creative thinking. The computerized tests were generated using the Max programming language for music and multimedia, which incorporates interactive elements based on the Bach environment for computer-aided composition. At the initial stages of the procedure, students were asked to select their class and name, which activated the experiment timeline automatically. Then, instructions appeared on the screen, which required them to understand and respond accordingly. All answers were collected automatically and documented in an Excel spreadsheet that included the student's name, class, trial number, and answer. Responses included texts, images, sounds, and musical notes that were saved also in the folder for further analysis and evaluation.
Okay, here we can see some questions in math about patterns, sequences, and symmetry. And here we can see some questions in music. The students need to type a melody or to type a rhythm. So how the connection between the domains occurs practically in the classroom? Let's see some examples. First, repeating patterns.
1, 2, מתחילים.
This was the repeating patterns in music, and here you can see in the right the invented patterns of children about repeating patterns. And here is an example of growing patterns in music.
1, 2, מתחילים.
Do, re, do, mi, do, fa. The interval between the notes is growing, and here you can see a growing pattern in math and in numbers, the Fibonacci sequence. And here is an example about sequences in music and in math. Okay, so we have the melody. It goes down, goes down, like a sequence. And here we can see a sequence of invented sequence of a child in the third grade. He wrote first the units go down, then the tens, then the hundreds, and then the thousands. 100, 2000, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. You can see his invented pattern sequence. And finally, you can see an example of symmetry in music and in math. So number one is making a movement, and number two repeats like a translational symmetry. Or here we can see Frère Jacques in lines, in arrows. So what were the results of our experiments? So here you can see the blue columns are the pre-tests and the red columns are the post-tests in music and in math. The experimental group significantly outperformed the control group in both areas. These results refer to the questions with only one correct answer. You can see how the experiments group outperformed the control group in these tests. What about the creative questions that have more than one correct answer? So here we can see the result of the creative thinking tests after the intervention in both domains. You can see that the experimental groups learned how to think in a creative way, especially in the parameters of fluency in the blue column and flexibility in the green column. Here we can see some example of creative thinking in math, a pattern that is the moon. The moon rises in the size, or the pattern of the heart. The heart connects and connects until it is complex. Or this invented pattern of revolving series. Each number is connected to the same number in a straight line. A star is formed that rotates and repeats itself. And here we can see an example of creative thinking in music. Let's see in the right. The student invented a pattern that the note is the first and the last, and it goes inside. Or in the left example, can see that the student chose to begin with one note and to go in order, white and black notes. So in conclusion, we found that learning patterns in music and math contributed to meaningful learning in third grade children and improved their achievement in both areas. Creative thinking in music and math on subject of patterns can be developed via multidisciplinary learning, and this multidisciplinary learning contributes to the interest in the classroom and can be developed later for additional topics for the curriculum. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.